Yeah. Um, gosh, where to start? Um, this time last year at Compulsion, we had. Um, I'd basically come along with the idea of. I'd come along with the book in a certain state, and the artist Andy Hepworth introduced me to Angus Abranson, who was with Cubicle 7 at the time, just on the off chance. And from that conversation came the fact that Angus was interested in looking at the PDF we had, or the papers we had then. And then from that came the beginning of what we've ended up with the Dark Harvest book, um, which is one of the reasons why compulsion has always been quite so important to what we do. Because every time we come here, it's lucky. Um, and pretty much everybody who's worked on the book in any shape or form, we went down to Craig saying, "Yeah, sounds like a good thing. I think you should definitely do that." And Gregor Hutton, who I met here first, who at Glasgow's Conflagration, we did a talk about ideas and about the fact if you don't do anything with them, you don't count for anything. And I'd been telling Gregor about Dark Harvest, and he said, "Well, you've just done an hour-long talk berating everybody else and telling them if you don't get up and get your idea out there, then they're being silly and hypocritical and wrong and everything else. So, Dark Harvest, what are you going to do with it?" So yeah, everything has come together because of this event. So coming here with stuff has become traditional. Last year we gave away, I know 2 years ago I met Angus. Last year we gave away the first ever copies of the book in PDF form. We ran the first ever public games of the role playing game. This year Andrew's come with the card game um, because he had no choice. Um, and and Steve's run the first of a new convention scenario here. And we're going to announce a new project and talk about the various other bits and pieces. But since we released less than a year ago, we've had. It's been weird. People liked it, which when you've had something in your head for more than 10 years and you've talked about it and you get it out there and that becomes a relief in itself. You don't have to sit with it in your head as much anymore. And finally getting it out there has meant that other people have fed back and said, "Do you know, it actually was quite a good idea." And the comments have been great, and the community we're building up through the website, and through the Facebook page, and through the convention appearances has been it's been lovely, and it's a constant surprise when people come up like the chap did 2 minutes ago and say, "It's great, I liked it, and we bought it." And it's like, "Well, really? Oh, thank you very much." Um, so yeah, it's been weird. I still can't wrap my head around it. But
Because it's good. Don't forget.
yeah, yes, it is good. People, yeah, I mean, I knew that, and everybody working in it knew that, but it's just that thing when you get it out there.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess I joined in with you 8 years ago now.
yeah,
About that.
yeah,
When we were still talking about D20 and how it was the greatest thing ever to take over the world, and how the Prometheia manuscript, as it was then, was a perfect fit. And thankfully it wasn't.
yeah. It was a dreadful thing.
So, that was okay through that one. And then I came back when you and Angus
Yeah,
had words to fit the work that Walt and Andrew from
Andrew
Cubicle 7
Barlow.
had done with Victoriana into Dark Elves world. And that was yeah, for 8 years sitting there going, kids had a really brilliant idea. We should totally do something with that.
It's funny because
Yeah,
I was chatting to John Hodgson, the art director at Cubicle 7, and he was saying the dead easy bit is starting something. The really, really, really hard bit is actually bloody getting it finished. So the trick is to start it and then at some point finish it. But yeah, I mean, you had it in your head longer than most because you were one of the first people that sort of went, "I've had this sort of idea."
yeah, and that's just because I wrote a book. So
Yeah,
yeah, so I was foolish enough to write comedy fantasy and get it out there published. And Ian said, "Oh, proper writer, let's pick his head, let's pick his brain. I've got this idea for a book. How do I do it? What do I turn it into?"
Yeah.
And it was a kind of case of, well, what is it? Does it work as a book? And it always worked right from the start. There's a world, huge world of brilliance. And it was like, tell a character through it. And it was like, well, which one? Well, choose one. I can't. There's too many. It's a world.
And I think the nice thing about it, even at that point, was because I knew that somebody else was now having the same problem I was having. Because it's every time I sat down to write one thing, something shiny would appear in the story, and I'd want to explore that bit more. And so I'd go, right, I'll write a story. Forget about that. I'll write a story about that bit. And meanwhile, the notes from the first bit were still sitting there. Then more notes got added until I ended up with a sheet of paper. And then it just kind of went from there. But
how did you turn it from being an idea for a book and a novel, or 3, I think it was at one point,
I think at one point, yeah,
or 28.
Yeah.
How did you go from that to a role-play game? What did you do? What was the a turning moment there?
Yeah, I was broke. I was skint, and so there was is it not RPG. Yeah, it was RPG.net. They're a freelancer forum. A company, Pegasus, I think it was. They were advertising. They wanted someone to do a dark fantasy role-playing game background. And I contacted Casala, the editor, and I said, no, you don't want dark fantasy, you want dark historical stuff. He's like, well, do I? Yeah. And so I told him about the Promethea thing, and we were going to do it with them. And then they went out of business. So we ended up I ended up left with this thing. And then I got a job, and then I left that job, and I did something else, and I ended up here. And I wanted to just get it out of my head and onto paper. So it kind of, the role-playing thing was logical because all that background information was there, and it just made sense to do it like that, to make it into instead of trying to tell one story, effectively absolve myself of responsibility and have everybody else tell the stories, and then I could sit back and go, yeah, that's great, that's nice, I like what you did with it.
I'll take it.
But then we did the fiction with it because it seemed to make sense to do it in a certain way, so that anybody, even if you didn't want to run the game, you could read the book and get something out of just having read a good world description, some good stories that fitted with it, and maybe that was enough. People could read that. Then the rules were separate, which meant that when you were playing it, all the rules were in one place. So you didn't have that constant, right, the character generation, where was that? Oh, bits of it are there and bits of it are here, and it was all there in the one bit. And we had an index, which was lovely and almost destroyed my sanity. So yeah, it all kind of, the role-playing thing just fitted, and it meant that other people could get involved and share it and tell their own stories and have fun with it. But, so that's out. It's been out almost a year now. It's done well. Cubicle 7 are very happy. The money's coming in. It's good. Oh, it's going to come to that. Next, so late May, early June, we're doing Resistance. It's 173 pages. It was supposed to be 100 pages, but we all got very carried away in Aberdeen one day. And it suddenly became this thing that was going crazy. But it basically takes a lot of the basic themes that we had in the first book and expands it all and adds more detail to it. So we've got things like Robert Coles, our map maker, has done various sort of military bases and things like a nice health spa with a military base attached to it for the rich elite, and basically exploring some of the key locations that players regularly come into. So there's all that stuff in there. There's 3 more stories. There's one of the things we got back. I mean, the supplement came out with the feedback we got from the players, and they were asking for things like, okay, we were set in 1910, but because we used a Victoriana system to begin with, the money values we had were all Victorian. So we sat down with a guy, Colin Chapman, who's a games designer, and he came up with proper 1910 money values, and we had find it. We've got X number of pages on with uh, weapons and equipment, tents, cars, balloons, dog whistles, clothing, various guns, and skis, bear traps, binoculars, compasses, cooking equipment, cot beds, saddles, a canoe.
The canoe.
There's a canoe.
£8. Bargain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Colin had access to sort of auction house catalogues and things like that of the period. So stuff that's in there is fairly accurate.
And the descriptions he's got are all descriptions that were given in the catalogue. So it's things like pistols that are easily concealable and will deal with any blackguard who accosts you. 1910 sounds very dangerous. Definitely. So there's all that kind of stuff in it. There's a full scenario, which was Steve's previous convention scenario, which has got maps and characters. It's got, at the end of it, it's got a section on how you could then take that basic scenario and turn it into a series of campaign scenarios and do the whole thing, playing either from the point of view of resistance or pro-Promethean characters or people who are trying to remain neutral and just make a living. Because although resistance is about, it has as its main focus the fight between the resistance and the Promethean forces, it also talks about the fact that resistance is everywhere. It's everything from somebody trying to get forged documents so they can go visit a dying relative, right the way up to the full-on blowing up trains kind of thing. So all that sort of stuff's in there. And yeah, it's a good solid piece of work. But we're not stopping there. We've got the card game, which I'm now going to let Andrew talk about because my voice is getting
Yeah, I noticed you were getting croaky. Yes, we're here demoing to familiar faces now with a thing called Frankenstein's Bodies, which is basically about, as probably most of you know, you've been charged by Frankenstein to prove how marvellous his science is, so you're trying to set up 2 of the finest bodies that you possibly can using body parts that are available in the huge card pack of 132 cards. You play those cards, you steal those cards off other people, you add rumours to them, you protect them using lots of stealing going on in places. Basically, it's a 2 to 6 player game that is lasting about an hour, just over the hour. Very interactive, very vicious, and proving a great deal of fun.
We
Which
managed
is
to
marvellous.
turn an entire table of people who've been friends for about 6 years into backstabbing, conniving enemies within, 1.5 turns of play.
Yes.
It's a family game. It's a family game.
So it's some of the pictures I don't know if each grandmother would approve.
It's only the lady torso bits.
enough sort of whalebone corsetry and stuff like that. But
That's for adults. Yes. No, 8+. But I'm just delighted, having been here nearly 2 days playing this with avid gamers. The feedback that we're getting, the responses we're getting, is just tremendous. And your comments were. I've heard, yes, which is just tremendous. Yes, the 4:30 session is booked. So, which is fantastic. I'm delighted and really excited about it. It's just, it's gone from bedroom to convention, and it's kind of worked. Let's not take that quote out of context, please.
It's gone from bedroom to.
From
That's
bedroom
how
to
I
convention.
convince all my business partners.
as with all things, Dark Harvest, it ends up being one small conversation that just won't get out of people's heads.
Yes.
Well, to explain how Andrew got involved in the card game, I'd been at the Eurogamer Expo talking to Matt Gibbs, our editor, on the Dark Harvest books. And he said, well, look, you need to kind of expand the line a little bit and start doing other things. And he said, yeah, you could do card games or board games. And I kind of thought, something just went, ding. So on the train home, I thought we could do a card game. Rich people going to a party, fighting amongst themselves to get the best body bits. I'll get Andrew to do it.
Yeah.
So I turned up at Andrew's house after the event and said,
Got an
how
idea.
did it go? Oh, it went really well. I've got an idea. You're doing a card game. You're doing a what? You're doing a card game. The Dark Harvest card game. It'll be great. The idea is this. You'll be fine. You go and do it. Because Andrew's got just houses full. He actually has 3 houses. He only lives in one.
Neither do I.
Oh, I wonder whose houses those were. Anyway, and he's got piles of games, and he and Jenny play stuff, so I knew that Andrew could do it. But convincing Andrew to do it consisted of saying, right, you're doing a card game. So he started developing the card game, and then Dragon Meet came up, and I said, I'm coming down to Dragon Meet in November, and you're coming along to demo and playtest the card game at Dragon Meet.
This is
Sorry, I'm doing what?
2.5 months after the initial conversation where Ian said, you're doing a card game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now playtest it. Yeah.
4 weeks before the promotion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dragon Meet was 2.5 months after that conversation. So from concept to crawling.
Because you had cards by then.
Yes.
You told me you had cards, so that was fine. You were going to be able to.
It was Christmas cards.
Yeah.
Was,
But it worked.
Okay,
So there was another one of these conversations. No, I can't do that. Yes, you can. You've got 4 weeks. It'll be fine.
yeah, it's booked. There's people wanting to play. Oh, thanks, Ian.
It's in
Just
the
the way it
program. I'll
works.
send you a copy. And it did. It worked. It worked really well.
Really.
And we met Kat, one of the games committee at Dragon Meet, and she said, "Yeah, that's really good. You should come to Compulsion and test it there."
Yeah.
And Andrew's going, but, and I said, "Yeah, okay, we'll be there." So we're at Compulsion.
Yes. And I'm delighted.
And then you had a word with Gregor, and Gregor said, "Yeah, you can do that at Birmingham."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's come full circle. Which is lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Compulsion is lucky. But so we've got that, and we're hoping this year, isn't it?
Oh, that's what I'm aiming for. Yeah.
So there'll definitely be something out that no.
The aim right now, and this is the 8th of April, is that it will be launched at Dragon Meet in December.
Production.
To be arranged and confirmed, and if I can get the homework done from the feedback that I've got. So that's the bold statement.
We're taking that
That's
as a quote. December.
a quote. Yeah.
It's final-ish.
That's how this whole project has worked. You said,
Yeah.
You're doing it for then, am I?
Yeah.
It's good.
Yes. Carrot and stick, and bigger stick, and just. No, I just. Right now, I just want to get this in people's houses, so they're having the fun that they've had here this session. And I'm just like, I'll shut up now.
So
Big
that's
news.
that plan. So we've got that. This is June. We've got that December. We've got a Dragon Meet last year, where there was announced that we're doing a Dark Harvest fiction anthology. That will be released as an ebook I'm aiming for October with that. That's going to depend. There's a couple of other writers who need to check their schedules. But again, the Compulsion connection. I met there's a comic book writer, Gordon Rennie, also does video games and everything else. I just had a chat with him downstairs, and he confirmed that yes, he is interested and will produce a story. So again, Compulsion has been lucky. Gordon's a fabulous writer. He's amazing. Did lots of stuff with Games Workshop, with the Blood Quest stuff, and yeah, he's amazing. So that's fabulous. And there's a couple of other guys we're talking to, who I won't mention because I don't want to speak for them, because that wouldn't be fair. But yeah, we're republishing the stories that have been in the core rulebook and the 3 that are in Resistance. Andrew's done a couple more.
Longer ones.
Max Wiseman's done. Yeah, they're longer than the ones that we did for the rule books so far. Max Wiseman's done another one. Matt Gibbs, the editor, has done one. A chap called Ian Mayer, who's another video games writer, and comic books and various other things. He's done one. And like I say, there's a couple other guys plus Gordon. So It's going to be a fair old size, I think. But the other thing we've had is
The drum roll.
bit of paper I can't find.
Dent. I know.
It's in here somewhere.
What have you lost?
Bear with me, ladies.
We'll
and
talk
gentlemen.
amongst ourselves.
Talk amongst ourselves.
Can I sing my song?
I think you'll find the microphones outside. Oh, twiglets.
One of the things that was nice, also included in my why I'm involved, is that Ian and I have known each other since Compulsion, Plug Compulsion yet again, and why not? He was writing magazines, and I was writing books. I was quite envious about the fact that he was actually getting a paid job doing writing, and he was quite envious about the fact that I was writing what I wanted but not getting paid for it. So somewhere in between came an interesting conversation, which was, do you want to put some flavour fiction, among other writers, including Mags, into Dark Harvest? So I ended up writing, or was invited to write, was it 3 stories? Certainly 2 stories,
Two
and
for
a
the first one,
couple of little
yeah.
bits.
Little bits of
So
letters and
some of the short stories in the middle are me, which is marvellous.
it's been fun. Now we've got expanding on more ideas in the anthology. But yes, next project
Hey.
is this one. Fires of Promethea is something that I've had in my head for a while, because I write for video games as well as other bits and pieces, and comic books and stuff is other things I want to be doing. But the video game stuff, I met a chap, Andrew Smith, from a company called Spilt Milk Studios, and Andrew knew about Smitty, I'll call him, there's too many Andrews. Smitty knew about the whole Dark Harvest thing, and I said, look, because he runs a games consultancy, so I sent him the thing. I said, look, I want to turn this into a game. Is there something there? And he said, yeah, there's something there. And we went away, we both were thinking about it. And we both kind of came to the table at the same time and said, look, why don't we do this together? So the result has been that as of, I think, Eurogamer Expo last year, we basically sort of agreed then, yes, we will do a video game for iPad. And then it became, well, why don't we do it on the Unity platform, because then we can easily convert it for iPad, PC and Mac. Then we said, well, why don't we just do it for iPad, PC and Mac? So we the core team has started to be put together already, and the result is we have an animator who, David Meikle, who is just phenomenal. He's worked on stuff for Warner Brothers for the Sucker Punch publicity, the pre-release publicity. He worked on the trailer for the infamous and wonderful trailer for Dead Island. Gavin Harrison, our composer, who is well known for dance, he's done dance music and chip tunes and all sorts of other stuff, but has always wanted to do orchestral stuff, so he's doing our score for the game. We've got a coder on board now, I'm still being introduced to. Smitty and I are kind of managing it, but at the moment we have a rough cut of the trailer, which, if you all can.
What if Frankenstein got it right? What if Victor Frankenstein had embraced his discoveries rather than seeking to destroy them? What kind of country would he create? What kind of world? This one. Promethea. What if you had to stop him? Fires of Promethea. Action, infiltration, and intrigue. Coming soon.
is the
that works.
the greatest voice in video entertainment.
Ah, it's great.
The voiceover is Tom Dusek, who I met doing very wonderful, and please go out and buy it if you have a PlayStation 3, the Blue Toad Murder Files for Relentless, which is completely unlike Dark Harvest. It's a comedy murder mystery thing set in sort of Agatha Christie style. But if the Carry On team had done a murder mystery based on Agatha Christie, it's that.
With Ian's warped sense of
Yeah,
humour.
it's very twisted. And the characters, Tom does the voice of every single character in the game, and that's about, I think there's over a dozen characters,
Male and female.
male and female, plus and a dog, male, female, and a
Oh,
dog.
I forgot the dog. How dare I?
Watson the dog, and he also plays the very snarky narrator, who's very, very sort of Stephen Fry on a really bad day after he's been woken up too early. So yeah, I met Tom on that, and he's delighted to be involved, and he's going to do the voices. But the essence of the game is, has anyone played the old Commando games, or trying to think of Commando's the most other one. Metal Gear Solid, the original Metal Gear game as well. That sort of thing where you play one person who's horribly outgunned and has to basically sneak through environments, trying to avoid alerting the guards, but set in Promethea. And you start off, you'll be able to pick an avatar, so you can play male or female, whatever. And you start off as someone who's been involved with the resistance but never committed to it. Somebody finds out you're involved, grasses you up. Someone rushes up to your house and goes, the authorities are coming, you've got to run. And basically from that point you have to escape from your house, escape from the village, escape across some fields, get through the forest to meet your resistance contact, to formally join the resistance. After that point there's various different missions that you'll do. The way it's structured is, if you take easy difficulty, for example, you set into a military base, if you pick easy, you'll start off in the base, you have to get to a particular place, pick something up, and then escape. If you play it on more difficult level, say medium level, you start off outside the base, you have to sneak in, you find what you're trying to steal, and it says, we've captured a really important resistance person, so you have to go and rescue that person, and then both get out the base. If you play it on most difficult level, you start off outside the base, you have to break in, find out about the guy, rescue him. He says, there's a visiting official come, this is a great opportunity to kill this guy. Oh, and by the way, there's some information in the safe as well. So you have to go and arrange an assassination, get the stuff out of the safe, create a diversion so you can escape. So each level will have effectively 3 different ways of playing through it. This is me committing myself to this as a game designer.
Is there a 4th level of difficulty where you have to build the fortress in the first place?
Well, it's one of the things we'd like to do is with the PC version is involve modding community so that we'll provide a tool set and say, right, here's how here's the buildings, here's how you put text in, go away and build your own levels, and then we'll do a competition and the 10 best get released as a supplement, and we'll hopefully be able to pay those people something from the fund. So that, at the moment, I have no idea when that's coming out, but the aim is to have it out next year, at some stage, probably late next year. So,
Sable.
You very literally heard it here first.
Yeah.
But the other plan is Eurogamer Expo this year in September. We will have a playable prototype of some description there, and hopefully there'll be the video trailer. Once it's finished, will go up online, and then there'll be development diaries, so you can keep a hold of that. We may eventually go to a Kickstarter funding option with various grades of involvement, and we can hopefully, you can give us money then, get your name in the game, and get an avatar created that you can play in the game or something.
We're at the expo this year, so we're going to only get to go then.
Yep. See, now I have to do it because you're.
Voted for truth.
For truth.
Should beat you up otherwise.
So that's that project, and then as far as the role-playing game goes, we're definitely not forgetting about that. We've got one of the things I want to do when the fiction anthology comes out is all the characters in the anthology that you meet, we'll write them up as characters and give you the stats so that you can play them in whatever game. And we'll put them up for free on the website. You can just be able to download those as a little thank you. And for next year, coming out of our conversations in Aberdeen.
Yeah, we had our annual powwow, and
January,
and we generated the shape of resistance. And we got that done and dusted, and that was nice. And then Ian said, "Well, we've got too much stuff, so we'll have to get rid of this bit, and this bit, and this bit, this bit, and this bit." And did you realise that this bit was like 40 pages? Okay, cut it down. It's fine. So we've got probably enough. We've got enough material now for at least.
Yeah, I think so.
Another one.
Because it's one of the things I say in Introduction for Resistance. As happened way back at the beginning, the more anyone thinks about it, the more you start thinking, oh, what about that? And we need to get aircraft. How would aircraft, that was one of the big conversations, how would aircraft work in a sealed society? And that led to a page being added to this to sort of slightly cover that. And then go, right, that's good, we've done that, we don't have to do the statistics yet and figure it all out, but we'll do it for the next one. So aircraft we're going to have to do at some stage.
Because you put on Victor's head and said, oh no, we're not having any of that.
Yeah, we can't do that. But Count von Zeppelin, he was over there, fine, I'll talk about Count von Zeppelin then if it makes you happy. So we've got that, but what we want to do, or what I would like to do is, we've done one scenario in this, but what I'd really like to do is get a pack of scenarios done for next year that each one can be played individually. I would like it so that each scenario you can, because there's no bad guys really in Prometheia, although Gergiev probably is close. You can play from either side, and there's goods and bads from each side. So each scenario, in a mind-numbing thing to do, is going to have to be able to be run with the players taking either the pro-Promethean or the pro-resistance side. So yeah, we're going to have fun thinking how that's going to work.
We've had a couple of ideas kicked about.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff.
So I think I would like to have about 4 or 5 really chunky scenarios that you can play. Like I say, linked or whatever.
I think the other thing to say at that point is that our loyal friends of Victor out there have been generating brilliant little ideas as well. On the forums, there continues to rage a huge debate about Dr. Moreau.
Yeah, everyone wants to get Dr. Moreau involved somehow. So. Which is in my head now.
Yeah. Makes a change.
It's nicer, yeah. But that's what I like about this. I'd never thought about putting Dr. Moreau in, and then somebody said, well, what about him? Because he's the obvious choice for the great powers. Because you can see America or Britain going to him and saying, you know, we've heard rumours about this, and we've heard rumours about you. And Moreau going, yeah, of course, I'm far more advanced than Victor, this Victor Frankenstein chap. So yes, I'll build you an army that can take on his. So there's all of a sudden this concept of, could the First World War or maybe the Second World War have been Victor Frankenstein's augments against Dr. Moreau's animal men? I just had this. I actually had an idea about that. Yeah, could Hitler
Welcome
kidnap
to our
Dr.
world.
Moreau? Would Dr. Moreau have wanted to work with the old Adolf?
He was nice to his mum.
He was very nice to his mum. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the community. I mean, we've got Paweł out in Poland who, off his own back, translated one of Andrew's stories, Magda's Runner, into Polish, translated the overview from the beginning of the rulebook into Polish, has just done his first scenario in Polish and posted it to his website. So, yeah, he is single-handedly selling my book in Poland, going around going, buy this.
Old Polish agent.
Yeah, he's doing fab. So, I mean, it's an old hackneyed expression. We want to hear from the people who are playing the game, but we do want to hear from the people who are playing the game because they're giving us ideas and we're giving them ideas. It just becomes this huge thing. And if people want to write stuff, if they've got a favourite character and they've written it up and they've got pictures, we'll put it on the website. As long as they're clothed, we'll put it on the website. If there's a scenario that they've had ideas about, we'll chat about it, or it can go in the forums. We can kick it around, and if they want to, we can stick that on the website as well, and do something with it and promote their stuff. So yeah.
Fantastic.
So I think that's about it at the moment.
Yeah.
Will that do? Are we doing enough? Nah, we'll think of something else. We've got next year's info. What do you think?
Basically, the future's bright. The future's Prometheus, and it's his fault.
I think I'm wearing that T-shirt. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Yeah.
That'd probably be me.
Yeah. We'll get the card game going. I have some ideas for a board game. I know roughly what I'd want it to be. So yeah, that's something.
There's going to be an expansion for this, and probably a standalone game that's like Frankenstein's Body's only lighter, but probably Frankenstein's pets, so you can build animals. Which can be played as a standalone, but also the plan is to try and get it so that it can be interactive. So you can use Frank's Bodies and Frank's Pets at the same time to make a creative minefield of a monster. It's conceptual, and I like it because people are giggling, but needs work.
I mean, that one of the key things about expanding the whole Dark Harvest thing is we need to make sure that each individual bit is the best we can make it. Because we never want to be in a situation of, we'll do a comic, we'll chuck something out there. It has to be a good product that will work on its own, as well as being part of the whole. So, yeah, there will be a board game. Definitely.
Yay!
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those conversations that we've ended up having sort of late at night at conventions and things like that when the whiskies flow freely. But it's things like taking some historical figures and exactly how they'll end up interacting with Victor and Prometheus in general, because we know in our hearts of hearts that everyone else is going to be setting up games for this stuff. And so, favourite something we keep coming back to are guys like Tesla, Edison. You love Edison.
I love Edison
so much. Moreau is great. There are just a huge list. Obviously, as you get beyond sort of 1910 into the later part of start of the century, there's all these slightly crazy people start crawling out of the woodwork, and how they interact with Prometheus will potentially change.
In Resistance, we've got Hiram Maxim turns up, the guy that did the machine gun experiments. Thanks to Mags, Emmeline Pankhurst turns up in Prometheus, and the whole. But this was another thing that came out, the January thing. I could immediately hear in my head the Ministry for Information going, "No, she's not coming in," and various male-oriented government officials going, "We don't want any of that nonsense." But at the same time, Victor being terribly enthusiastic about getting her there because it's very much in keeping with his vision. So there was this whole political discussion of how would her visit be managed by the Promethean authorities, and that turned into this couple of page entry of women's liberation becoming a form of resistance within Promethea. And that's what this game does to people. It's how would that person affect this, and how would that then feed back into? Yeah. Well, I was thinking actually, if we've got Frankenstein's pets coming out,
That's the plan.
that means that you could potentially make a monkey with two asses. I want the walking stick. Yeah. So yes, anybody else?
Got Frankenstein, got Dark Harvest. Obviously, Frankenstein, some film books, we've got Frankenstein, Dracula, at any point, what about how much into this kind of literature genre do you plan on bringing into Dark Harvest? Or is this maybe going to be focused completely on Frankenstein?
There was something that I was actually chatting to Gordon today, and he was asking about. He was asking something along those lines because he'd mentioned Dr. Moreau, and we're talking about, and he mentioned Tesla, and I said, "Oh yeah, we've got him." And he was like, "Oh, no." He said that something. He summed up something that is something I wanted to make sure about. I didn't want what we're producing to turn into the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Basically, it's an odd one. The best kind of alternative history is when you take one thing and change it. And the best kind of fantasy is what the sort of real world is when you take one little thing and just break it slightly. So it's not something we're going to do, but it is something I would encourage because I wanted Transylvania in the game because it's the Gothic place to go, and also historically speaking, Romania was the easiest country to mess with during that whole historical time. So that kind of worked out. So that connection is there. The whole Vlad Dracula thing is in there. It is something I would love to hear about. I'd love to find out how other people have done it. But just for the sake of not melting my brain, it's not something I want to do too much of. Even Dr. Moreau, I like the idea because his way of messing with DNA and the surgery he did was interesting and fits in with what Frankenstein's doing. I think starting to bring in vampiric immortality or Wells' Invisible Man kind of stuff, bringing that in might just make it too sort of, but what about this and this and this and this and this? So, no, but yes. That's about, yeah.
No,
I want someone else to come and say, well, actually, you can do it and you can do it this way. And then I'll stick it on the website. Saves me the work. So, yeah. Anybody? Would you like to see the video again?
It's his new toy. It's tremendous. It really is. I can't wait to see the proper thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I remember the first thing that Tom ever did for you, just off his own bat, was the prologue from the book. I just handed it over. There you go. And it's the prologue in that voice. And it's not something you can listen to in a dark room just like in headphones, because it just puts chills where they shouldn't go. And it's
the best voice Tom did for us and this was me bringing role playing into Blue Toad. One of the characters in Blue Toad Murder Files is based on the Archbishop of Canterbury. He's the local priest, but he's a Cthulhu worshipper. And he does there's a funeral in episode 3, I think, and if you listen to it in the background, it's him talking about in the Archbishop of Canterbury's voice, talking like this. All hail the Dark Ones. And as we lay our beloved friend to rest, we know in the fullness of time that which is dead can for eons lie, and in time even death itself may die. So Tom can just do the voices he did were amazing. He did a sort of David Tennant doctor, local doctor character. He had a village policeman with a breaking voice like the character out of The Simpsons. Yes, Mr. Simpson. All this kind of stuff. He's great. So.
What if Frankenstein got it right? What if Victor Frankenstein had embraced his discoveries rather than seeking to destroy them? What kind of country would he create? What kind of world? This one. Promethea. What if you had to stop him? Fires of Promethea. Action, infiltration, and intrigue. Coming soon